Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening, every single Leeds fan. It feels like the Jonathan Rowe update again. I'm going to be talking through exactly what the situation is right now between both clubs, of which we know, of which I know, of which has been broadcasted. Guys, if you want an extensive read on bits in and around Leeds United, we'll be bringing something to the website very, very soon, but it's going to have a soft launch this weekend, it should be, on Patreon. If you like those journalistic values, if you like reading bits and bats for a very, very, very reasonable fee, as well as videos up there. We just have had a Hugo Bueno from the Wolves side, the update that Leeds United are after. We've got it from a very, very good source. Video is up there now if you'd like to check that out. And yeah, I'm basically coming to you today, guys, with a little bit of what we know so far on Johnny Rowe. We also did a stream earlier on with Mr. David Brown. I know you guys love having Brownie on. And speaking about that, a few nuggets in there as well of the Brownieisms, I like to say, and it's got me all positive and geared up for the new season, so make sure you check that out. Okay, so what do we know? The politics of this deal are interesting. Okay, so Rowe. I think potentially from the Norwich side, Gabriel Sara is a bigger issue than this. Now, Galatasaray got a very good deal when you boil it down, when you look at sell-on clauses from previous clubs. For Gabriel Sara, a very, very good deal, of which Norwich, I believe, came out with, even though it was reported as a £26 million deal, Norwich came out with around 18, from what I believe. Now, Gabriel Sara is worth a hell of a lot more than that, if we've been brutally honest with each other. An absolute top midfielder who really could have, I even looked at an Aston Villa and thought, that'd have been a really nice signing for them, maybe almost a Douglas Luiz replacement, like for like, but I felt Sara just had a little bit more of an engine in him, a little bit more creativity, a goal threat. Obviously that's in the Championship, so it's very, very different, but I just felt his level was definitely one up, and that's obviously going to see him playing part of the Champions League next season. Now, why are we talking about Gabriel Sara? Well, not only were Leeds apparently active in that conversation, from what I now understand, Leeds were never in that conversation. It was always Galatasaray, and it was always more like agent links when it came to Sara and Leeds. So we were never in that conversation, apparently. So he's a bit of an issue now, Sara. Why? Because him going has meant that Norwich's sort of goal threat has been massively disrupted. Obviously, that transition from the midfield into the attacking third, of which he was completely unique, has gone. Johnny Rowe is now almost that impactful player who's going to really contribute to absolutely everything. He's looked so sharp in pre-season, and I believe that's why Leeds have got in. Obviously, he's got in. He's obviously part of a huge shortlist and a profile, and there's reasons behind why Leeds have got in for him. But from what we understand right now, Josh Sargent is remaining a Norwich player for now, although there are Bundesliga teams interested. Apparently even Premier League teams are willing to test the water with Josh Sargent, and people in and around the Norwich area are not convinced that he's going to be a Norwich player by the end of it. So that throws up another conundrum. So the impact of these two players and keeping Johnny Rowe on the back of that is massive, really, because Rowe contributed to a mass amount of goals, big assists, even with injuries last season. Huge goals, obviously contributed down at Ipswich in the draw at Portman Road when Norwich were absolutely woeful, but it was the Johnny Rowe show from their perspective, and in big games for them he really did show up when he was there. So I think the Sara, Rowe, Sargent trio being broken up is going to be massive, and I think some Norwich fans are seeing it as a transitional season, and I think, to be honest, that is on the back of, if I'm being honest, Sara leaving and maybe rumours of Rowe coming to Leeds and Sargent to Premier League clubs and abroad. I think that's why some are calling it a transitional season. Other Norwich fans are still expecting a top six push. That's the expectation. So the new gaffer's come in and he's got an almighty task straight away. And Norwich, for years and years of years, especially Championship level, have been a very sort of well-run club. They seem to get things spot on when it comes to a second tier level. They don't spend that much money, and they've been one of the more successful clubs at second tier level, not so much first tier in the noughties, obviously, and you know, maybe a little bit before that. I think they did quite well in 92, 93, didn't they? But overall, it's a bit of a problem, this, for Norwich. So the timing is a big thing, and I've got that noted down. And the reason behind that is because we've got 3 weeks to the end of the window, and Leeds have the financial might, you feel, of an Archie Gray sale and a Somerville sale and a Kamara sale, and lots of others, of which Leeds United have brought in around about 80 million quid. It looks like. I'm not saying Leeds have 80 million quid to spend, because that's obviously not the case, but 80 million quid nonetheless is a big package that Leeds United have brought in to the piggy bank. So Norwich don't have that, and that is what happens when you are a side who's fallen out of the parachute payments. You know, your assets get stripped naturally for bigger clubs who want to come in and take your players, of which will happen to Norwich this season, in my opinion, and it obviously has happened in the last 2 seasons as well. And the asset stripping is the worst part of it, but the parachute payments not being delivered anymore just means that you can't attract many players. So this is why the timing is key as well. If they're to lose Johnny Rowe now, they've lost Sara. Rowe and Sara have contributed to 47 goals last season, 47 goal contributions. So the whole problem here is replacing that, and especially if you're looking for a top 6 push, which Norwich kind of see themselves as. That's the sort of general consensus. Or they're sort of willing to go into another transitional season, but Norwich have been in quite a few transitional seasons. It felt like last season was a transitional season, but they fell, you know, they found themselves in the playoffs, which was great news. So the timing, I think, is a big issue. Now, Leeds, with the money that we have at this level, we find ourselves in a really good position when it comes to Red Bull. We're a bigger club. We have the ability right now, even if it's a loan signing, a free agent on good wages, or in fact someone like Johnny Rowe, Morgan Whittaker, your players that are value that Leeds could definitely go and at least test. We find ourselves in a more advantageous position and a stronger standpoint to what Norwich are in right now. The rumoured fee is, from the Norwich side, they want north of 10. Leeds won't go north of 10 and want to stay south of that figure. But is this just shrewd negotiation? We saw this with Jayden Bogle. This kept winding on and winding on and winding on. Out of nowhere, Leeds got it done. But the timing for Norwich is going to be a big issue. We've got to look at Norwich here, because will they fold? You know, because Leeds are going to be on the negotiation table saying, look, we'll offer 7 and above, 2 or 3 million here or there, and that's it. But what do we know now? Leeds don't want to go above 10. Okay, hard negotiation. I think as well, something else plays a factor here, and it's how Leeds dealt with Norwich last season. Now, Leeds went in for Kenny McLean, and they were almost laughed out the building, but it was seen as something on the Norwich side like a little bit of an insult. Leeds going in with 850k, Norwich laughing us out the building, and yeah, as I've just said, it wasn't seen as a good thing. Obviously there's the Farker link there, of which he came in and just almost tried to take the mickey a little bit, and apparently Leeds have done it a couple of times with Josh Sargent, from what I understand, and have lowballed when they've come to an inquiry. So I don't think Norwich are a fan of dealing with Leeds United in recent history, especially with Daniel Farker making the waters a little bit choppier on the Leeds end. So I think it's going to be a statement of intent for Leeds if they're able to get hold of Johnny Rowe. Do we need a Johnny Rowe night right now more than anything? No. We were talking about this earlier. You know, if Leeds are to cut back on that fee and then invest it elsewhere, in a left back, in a, you know, potentially a covering body in that central space, we'd probably all prefer that, if we're honest. But Johnny Rowe coming in is a statement of intent. But with 12 months left on his deal and an option to increase that from the Norwich side, I firmly believe that if we're able to get hold of him and then they lose Sara, which obviously they have lost Sara. Sargent's been contacted by Premier League clubs, and we're not here to speak about Norwich, but we've got to speak about the impact on that team, because it's going to make negotiation a lot harder. A big fee from another club for a Johnny Rowe is better PR, much better PR for Norwich. If they're to let him go for under 10 with 12 left on his deal, we'd all probably look at that and go, well, that's fair. But England under 21 international, bags full of potential, left or right, even central in my opinion. He is a top player and will be a top replacement for Crysencio Somerville. But do we need a replacement for Somerville? And he throws up so many conversations as we've spoken about in this video. Can Norwich even replace in time? Does this completely scupper any hopes they have of top six with the sort of strength, really, when you look at Burnley, Luton, Leeds, Coventry, who've done good business, Sheffield United, who appear to be getting their sort of acting in play, you know, the externals who've still got good squads, you know, your Middlesbroughs. So it's a massive, massive deal, this, because there's implications, massive implications on both sides. And if we look at Rothwell come in, there wasn't a really big implication there. Sheffield United, even the Bogle deal was done early enough for them to go and get an Alfie Gilchrist that they have done today. With Norwich, if you're to asset strip them in such a short space of time, Sara, obviously the negotiations going on the inquiries going on constantly with Sargent, does this make the deal with Leeds a little bit harder? I still think we'll be able to get Rowe out of there. I think that will happen, but I think Leeds are going to really go hard on the negotiation here. And I do believe if this happens from a position of strength, which Norwich were in, where I had them in my top three at the start of the season with Sainz, Nunes, Sara, Sargent, and obviously Johnny Rowe, I think they go in a position where it becomes another transitional season. And with a new manager in, Norwich don't want that. They do not want another transitional season. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. This is why this is a hard negotiation. This is why I can see Leeds rumbling on with this for a long, long time, it feels like, because there are implications on both sides. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. Do you agree? Do you disagree? How do you see this one going? Like, comment and subscribe. Check out, I'm going to put in extended written pieces on the Patreon account as well, which is gearing us up for, it's a bit of a preview for what's going to be coming. If you want some like sort of extended reads on Johnny Rowe, if you want some extended reads on a Pompey preview, get involved. And obviously there's the Hugo Bueno bit on there as well. We're extending what goes on the Patreon account as well, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you in a bit.